Hello everybody. In this video we're going to be talking about what is a digital phone system. We're going to be taking a look at VoIP essentially. So let's begin. Okay, so what is VoIP? I'm just going to do a quick overview really. I won't go into all the technical details because as a customer you won't really need to understand, luckily. Okay, so it's internet telephony. So it's essentially a phone, all you have to understand is that you are making phone calls over the internet as opposed to over copper wires. It has many advantages over the copper system. A few are it's cheaper, very easily expandable, scalable, and you can access your phone system worldwide, which is something you can't really do over in the same way with traditional copper phone networks, phone systems. So let's look at hosted VoIP. Okay, so hosted VoIP, it functions very similarly to a traditional on-premises phone system. I should say an analog phone system there. An on-premises analog phone system functions very similarly. Essentially, it's recreated exactly the same. You'll get the same outcome, just it uses the internet to make the calls and to interact with all of the phones. Okay, so it's in the cloud, so that means it's hosted for you, which is very nice because that helps bring the cost down, and it's very cheap considered compared to an equivalent analog setup. A PBX costs hundreds or sometimes thousands of pounds, so hosted VoIP is far cheaper. It's, for example, with us it's $8.99 and you get all of the features included. With another provider like Yay.com, I think it's either $5.99 or $6.99 per user, up to the first 5 or 10 if memory serves. Some are a bit more expensive, some are about £20 per user. It does depend on the company, but it is a lot cheaper than buying lots of analog telephone lines and then having a PBX. So that's good. And as I've said before, it has a lot of features that a business would want, like opening hours, hold music, call recording, voicemail, a huge number of features. I only named a few. So SIP trunks, this is the other side to host it to a digital phone system. So a SIP trunk is very similar to a physical phone line, except it's digital. Now, it's designed for, or intended to be used with an IP PBX. So if you had a PBX in your on premises, say there's a specific one you want that works with VoIP, it would be an IP PBX, and a SIP trunk would be what you would need to purchase to get it working, and that would allow you to make calls to the to make and receive calls, and externally from the local system you set up. And the number of SIP trunks that you have determines the amount of concurrent calls. So if you need to make 5 concurrent calls at any given time, you need to have 5 SIP trunks. And they're usually a little bit cheaper than the users are for VoIP. Not always, but sometimes. In our case with Bullscoin, they are. Some providers don't really do SIP trunks. They just have everything using hosted VoIP, which is certainly still possible. But if you do want to save a bit of money, you can go with a SIP trunk if you'd prefer. Okay, so let's take a look at some of the disadvantages of VoIP, because there are some disadvantages. So the first is that it requires internet access to work. So if you don't have internet connection, you just can't make calls, unfortunately. And another thing is that unlike an analog phone socket that's powered separately from your the rest of your premises. In a power cut, you could still make phone calls, but with VoIP you wouldn't be able to necessarily, especially if the internet went out. So voice quality isn't always as high as with analog calls, and I put an asterisk here because that is true, kind of. It's kind of true because everyone's internet connection is different, and everyone's how would I say it? I suppose at any given time, you could have something impacting your network quality. But on the whole, with the number of different codecs there are, this really shouldn't be much of a problem. So it's technically a disadvantage, but it's not really one that many people are faced with. And it is certainly fixable. And then another big disadvantage really is that it can be expensive to replace your existing hardware. If you can't use a analog to digital adapter for your phones or for your PBX, you might have to replace all of your devices, which could be quite expensive, but at the same time it would be future-proofing you, and it's unlikely you'd have to buy any new devices for quite a while, really. Okay. So, is a digital phone system worth it? Well, I think so, yes. 99% of the time, definitely. It's a lot cheaper, you get tons of features if you are with a business-hosted VoIP provider. And what I should have said here as well, written here, is that in the UK, by 2025, there won't be any more analog phone service at all. The PSTN is being switched off, really, and everything will go over VoIP, which, from my understanding, a lot of businesses are already on VoIP, which is good. But if you're not, I imagine that if you're still on analog, it's probably because you have a shop that is very that just has one phone, maybe, or you've only got a couple of phones in the office and you don't really need a big, powerful PBX. That's completely understandable. And depending on your internet service provider, they'll probably just send the voice traffic along your router, and all you have to do is you might have to buy a new phone, but it's not really too much of a hassle. So you might not see the need to upgrade to VoIP. But you do get a much, much better deal if you go with like EA.com, VoIP.ms is one. What's the other one called? Slipgate? I'm sure it's called Slipgate. I can't think of them off the top of my head. And Bullscoin, of course. You get a much better deal because you get a very cheap. If it's just one number, for example, or one line, you're paying, say, about £5 to £10 a month, and you're getting a huge amount of features usually, which is far superior to having essentially a digital version of your landline for £20 a month. It's a bit of a rip-off in a way compared to this style of service, but we'll have to see what happens there with the big telcos. Okay, so everyone, I like to thank you very much for watching. My name is Luke. I am the managing director of Bullscoin. You can get in touch with our sales team at sales@bullscoin.co.uk. Give us a call on the number there, or visit our website. And you can get in touch. We do a bunch of different things. We do hosting, broadband, telephone, lots of stuff. So if you need any sort of advice or help for your telecoms, for your business, or for your home for that matter, please feel free to get in touch with us, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day.